I tried to think of something witty to say about December 12th, and I didn't have it. I don't know why. I was thinking like a week after. I was thinking V for Vendetta, but that's November 5th. This is a very inauspicious start to the beginning of the Let's Not Do This
What's
podcast. What?
12, 12, 24?
Yeah, 12, 12, 12 plus 12 equals 24. There we go. See,
There you
you're
go.
better
You
at
got it.
math than me. There we go. You're listening to the Let's Not Do This podcast. You got the big O Leon Oliver sitting alongside one of the three unwise men, Scotty Too Hottie. Chris is indisposed right now. He said he was doing a family activity. I believe he's probably going through his car, finding cigarette butts, and trying to glue them together to make one super cigarette. It is getting to be the end of the year. You got to start saving some money. You got a lot of purchases, a lot of Christmas gifts to buy. I think that's how he's saving money by reusing cigarette butts.
Yeah, maybe he's being like a mall Santa somewhere or something.
Oh,
He's
he would be a great mall Santa.
I think he's avoiding us because of his betting record last week.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my God, he would be a great mall Santa. Like just rum on his breath and cigarette, and just like you probably don't want your kid around them. He's making $3.28 an hour. He's taking 15 smoke breaks. Oh, he'd be a great mall Santa. Well, Chris, go with God. Hopefully, you can make some money this holiday season. We do not miss you. And in fact, just stay wherever you are. All right, so we got a lot to get to this evening. Of course, big news of the day: Bill Belichick officially named head coach of the University of North Carolina. That still feels weird to say out loud. We'll get into that. And of course, Thursday night football, the Rams and the Niners renewing their little California clash there by the Bay. And then we'll get into some weird stories and some off the wall things here as well. So we got a lot of things going on, plus a little transfer portal talk. And there's some people in state governments that should be doing some other things rather than talking about college football. We'll get to all that too. But Scotty, I guess let's get to the issue at hand here. Bill Belichick, head football coach at the University of North Carolina. Let's rewind it back a few days. When this first came up, did you think there was any sort of way possible whatsoever this was like a legitimate news story?
I mean, it was so off the wall that yeah, I thought because UNC, I guess there wasn't too many head coaching jobs out there, but Belichick to UNC was just so off the wall that I was like, it must be true that he at least met with them. Now, I initially thought that he was using that just to say, hey, I'm available for college jobs, maybe looking for a bigger college job. But I don't think I ever thought that he was actually going to sign with them. I also didn't know that his dad was like an assistant coach there or whatever it was. I had no idea about that. But
I forgot about that until I saw the picture pop up the other day when it started to gain a little bit more steam of him as like a little tyke in the a very empty Kenan Stadium. It was empty then, it still is empty now. And he kind of talked about his Carolina roots and all that stuff and being around the program. In fact, a little snippet here from the press conference. Bill actually kind of made it seem like this was something that was always going to be meant to be.
I wanted to coach in football, coaching college football, and it just never really worked out. Had some good years in the NFL, so that was okay. But this is really kind of a dream come true. I grew up in college football with my dad. As a coach at Navy for 50 years, so as a kid, all I knew was college football, and so it's great to come back home to Carolina and back in an environment that I really grew up in. When you're little, you don't remember everything. Obviously, I was too young to remember a lot of things from Carolina, but as I grew up, you hear the same story over and over and over and over again, and so one story I always heard was Billy's first words were, "Beat Duke."
Literally, that was like 2 minutes into the actual press conference, and I wanted to vomit like immediately off the bat. I was already sick and tired of it.
Yeah, I don't believe any of that.
Yeah, I don't believe that shit at all. I wish Chris
His
was
dream.
Here. Was to
That's not
coach
his
Carolina.
dream because he wanted to coach the Bears, but they apparently didn't want him. They want Ben Johnson,
Yeah,
apparently.
and I love that he goes, oh, I guess I did all right in the NFL. Motherfucker, you got 6 Super Bowls as a head coach, 2 as a assistant. You got 8 rings. I think you did okay.
Now, I do think maybe he sees this as like a challenge, and he's got roots there. So I'm not saying he doesn't want to be there, but it was not his first choice. He wanted to be in the NFL.
I'm glad you said that too, that he's got roots there. So I did a little deep dive here, and I wanted to go and look up these Carolina roots of his. So his dad,
Well,
by the way.
I'm just going by what he just said because I
Oh
had no
no,
idea about any of this until like 12 hours ago. So
no, I'm glad you said that because yeah, I wanted to fact check Bill on his roots here. So his dad, by the way, named Steve Belichick. So I guess he named his kid after his dad. Hopefully, dad wasn't a fuck up like his son seems to be. But his dad was a backfield coach. I guess you would call that running backs coach now at Carolina from 53 to 55. From 53 to 55. What's notable about 53? That was their first year in the ACC. That was the ACC's actual first year. Now, Belichick was born in 52, April 16th, 1952. So he's got memories that young of being in Chapel Hill. And I don't know what age kids talk, but during that brief time, his first words were beat Duke.
and if he's saying that, that's basketball.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
imagine.
Exactly. And I went back and looked at, that illustrious Carolina football program back then. Scotty, in 53, they went 4-6. They improved to 4-5-1 in 54. And 55, they went 3-7. So they didn't exactly have Charlie Choo Choo Justice in the backfield back then. But
It might have. Maybe they just had a bad defense.
yeah, well, you know what? It's probably Steve Belichick's fault. And just like the defense now will be Steve Belichick's
I was gonna
fault.
say that's some things never change. They
Yeah.
have good running backs, good playmakers, and that's it.
Yeah. So he talked about that, and then a little bit further on, I got a couple audio clips here. A lot of people were wondering, well, what's that translation like from the NFL to college? He feels like, it carries over.
I do think there are a lot of parallels. There's certainly some differences, but there are some parallels.
Turn it
I
up.
think that's the reason for the general structure of Michael as a general manager and myself as a coach and working together collaboratively like we have done in a professional organization. So yeah, I do think there's some parallels. There's differences for sure, but yes.
That was like one of the classic Belichick non-answer. Yes, there's parallels between college and NFL. They're both football. You're both coaching. Things are similar. That was like a classic non-answer. He also talked about his approach to finding players. Guess what, Scotty? If you're a good player, they're going to find a way into his system for you.
We'll have a versatile and a system that will incorporate any good player. If we have a good player, I've never told Michael, hey, that's a good player, we can't use him. Give us a good player, and our scheme we'll find a way to work that player into the scheme.
Ooh, groundbreaking. If you have a good player, we'll find a way to use them. And lastly, another crock of shit here from Bill. He talks about Carolina apparently is always held of high regard for him, or he's held high regard for Carolina.
Michael and I have made many trips down here to scout players, but I'd say the overall impression, like, great place to go to school, great program, but it's been a while. 1980, that was the heyday really, and we got Taylor right after that at the Giants. And talked so much about the Tar Heels and their great program, and kind of hasn't been to that point since. So I think there's a lot of pride in this program, and I want to do everything I can here to help take it to the highest level.
So he has always kind of liked it there, and it's a great school. Is it really a great school? Remember they had the whole fake classes thing? Last time I checked, Virginia wasn't faking classes. I don't think Cal does or anything.
There's a lot of places faking colleges. Faking classes they don't even know about.
Guys had degrees in African American studies. They had minors that didn't even know they had it when they were graduating. Remember the whole Marvin Austin and all that shit that was going on there? It was terrible. You lose all. I lost all respect, what little bit of respect I had for that institution, if you want to call it that. After all that, but
Well, you don't count because you hate them.
that's very true.
'Cause You're
That's very
you're
true.
an anti-state fan, so you don't. Your opinion doesn't really matter.
Well, someone's opinion that does matter. NC State quarterback C.J. Bailey. He was speaking to the media. Of course, State getting ready for the Military Bowl game against East Carolina. C.J. Bailey had a little message for. No, this was before he was officially hired. This was yesterday, but he had a little message for Bill.
Bill Belichick can get it too, man. We go 5 years. You know, we go. No matter who the coach is for UNC, we go kick them.
What would that mean to you, though? That you could potentially
it means a lot.
Bill Belichick?
I actually that means a lot that I could play against Bill Belichick. You know, meet him. You know, but shoot, if he comes to play, we go kill him. We're gonna kill him.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, but he fucked up saying it means a lot to play Bill Belichick. I'll say that.
The guy's got 6 rings. I mean, arguably the greatest NFL coach of all time. I mean, like
Exactly. You can't remind people. It doesn't mean a lot if you're an NC State quarterback. You don't want to tell recruits there it means a lot to play against them.
you know what? You're not getting 2007 Bill Belichick with Tom Brady. I made this
You don't need
analogy last week.
And
You're getting a cheerleader from high school. She's busted now. She's divorced. She's got 3 kids. It's all over. Nobody else wanted Bill. That's why he's there now. He's Norman Dale in Hoosiers. He wound up there because nobody else wanted his ass, except he's not going to win any championships.
I was
like
going to
Milan
say
High
what
School.
happened there. That's not a good comparison for you.
No, he's
I'm glad
not
you said
Norman
that,
Dale.
I'm glad you said that because I think you should be, as an NC State fan, you should be very, very nervous about this. Now, granted, there is a chance that he crashes and burns and he just doesn't connect with the kids and he just can't coach in college. That's a real possibility. But the UNC football program has been irrelevant since I've been alive. I don't ever remember them being anybody being like, oh, look out, UNC football. Even when they had decent years and good offenses, nobody was really scared of them. Nobody thought it was going to last and hasn't. But now you put Belichick in, even if he's not a great coach, like recruiting is number one in college football. You could be a bad coach and a really good recruiter, and you're still going to be successful. And you have that name out there. Most people think he's the best NFL coach of all time. Arguably for me, I don't know if I would for sure put him number one, but he's definitely up there. Just that alone, guys that are wanting to be developed into NFL players, who better than the guy that can sit in your living room and be like, hey, I turned Tom Brady from a 6th-round pick into the best quarterback of all time. He could say, I did that, whether that's true or not. He's got, how many rings does he have? 6 or 7? Brady's got 7. He's got 6.
He's got 6 as a head coach, then 2 as a assistant, so he's got 8.
Okay. So, yeah, you can bring all them rings and put them in front of you and say, hey, I know what it takes to get there. And just his name alone. Their offensive lineman was in the transfer portal. He already came out of the portal, said he's coming back. And now, especially for NC State guys, like if you're deciding between NC State and UNC, you might put UNC in front of NC State now. And UNC's already put some quarterbacks in the NFL. There's a handful of them in there now. If you're a top quarterback prospect, why wouldn't you want to go to Belichick? UNC has already put guys in the pros. Now you got Belichick. You could look at that as long as they give you what you're worth. You're looking at that as a place where I can go and become a potential number 1 pick. And then, Belichick, UNC gets the offensive talent either way. And he could turn shit to sugar on defense. So they should have a good defense no matter who's out there. I think you should be very worried. As long as he takes this serious and isn't just being like, hey, telling his girlfriend he's a college coach because she's of college age. Maybe he can get her a scholarship. I don't know.
Hey, I'm just
but yeah, I think you should be very worried. He probably won't be there for super long, but if he makes them a destination, he's there for 2-3 years, makes them a destination. It could have a long-term effect. They use some of that basketball money on football. Who knows? All of a sudden, maybe they're winning the ACC every year. Maybe they're a thing. Maybe people want to come there. And that's never happened for UNC football. They've always been a basketball school. I don't know. I just think it's the reward outweighs the risk by a lot.
No, if you're Carolina, it makes sense to make the move, and it breaks the mold of the Carolina way, so to speak. And especially, Bill doesn't scare me. I think the game has bypassed Bill. Bill has shit things that know more about football than I have ever known. So I can't say anything about his football knowledge, but you look at his record without Tom Brady, and this includes the end of the time in New England and, of course, his Cleveland years. You look at, let me pull out this graphic here, this banner. Give me one second here. Without Brady and with Brady, his winning percentage. 44.9% winning percentage without Brady, 76.8 with Brady. Yeah, he's arguably the greatest coach of all time, but he also had the greatest quarterback and probably the greatest player in the National Football League ever. Makes a big difference. Phil Jackson had to have Michael, then he had Shaq and Kobe. You got to have great players too. What scares me about this isn't Bill. It's the commitment now that Carolina's made to football. The money that they're going to spend, not just on football, but on the NIL, and then on the support side of things, and bringing in Michael Lombardi, who worked for him in New England, and he's been in, I think, San Francisco and a couple other places. He's a great evaluator of talent. He's going to do the whole NIL side. They're going to have a whole separate staff to handle all of that. Carolina's pushing the chips in the middle of the table there and putting their cards down. That is what scares me, that they're finally going to take football seriously. And the AD, Bubba Cunningham, said toward the end of the presser today that football and men's basketball, he was asked about it, these are the most important things, especially when this whole house versus NCAA thing settles. The revenue from those two things are the most important, and they pretty much pay for everything else. And if now Carolina's going to take this side of it seriously now, that's what scares me. It's not so much what Bill's going to do, it's the fact that the next guy after, they could be set up if they're really going to go into this new age of football. You look at Stanford with Andrew Luck as like their GM now. They're going to do things differently. If they're really making a commitment to football, like Colorado did with Dion, and the resources and the branding and the name recognition that they have, the wealthy donor base, they got a medical school and they got a law school. That's where a lot of your donations come from. NC State doesn't have those. That's what scares me.
Yeah, it should. When he gives you a 400-page, did he call it a Bible, or is that what just the media is calling it?
I'm glad you addressed that. I wish I had that clip from the press conference. He was asked about that, and he refuted that and kind of laughed it off. And then was like, "Oh, if I had anything, I'm just going to give it to someone." But apparently, Michael Lombardi was on Pat McAfee earlier and confirmed the existence of the document. So who's telling the truth?
He definitely. I will say he probably definitely gave them said it was 400 pages. So if you're going through all that and you're going to listen to his demands and give him $10 million a year, you're definitely going all in on football.
My thing is, if you're a recruit, Bill being in your living room, and I'm sure he's not going to do it for everyone. If you're
he's going to have recruiters for sure.
Yeah, if you're a 5-star from Charlotte, Bill's are probably going to come in and close the deal. That's understood, but he ain't going to the 3-star kid from Tarboro to his game on Friday night, probably. What if I'm a recruit though? How much longer is he going to be there? He's 72 years old. Mac was 73. Bill will be 73 by the time he coaches the game for Carolina.
It's a different day there. Transfer portal. Who cares if he's only going to be there 2-3 years?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like everybody else does.
I mean, people were using. I know Mac had said people were using it. He was kind of intimating that NC State was doing that recruiting wise, using his age against them. Oh, how much longer is he going to be around? You kind of heard the same things about Coach K toward the end, and Roy. How much longer are these guys going to be there? But you're right. The world is different now. A lot of times when you're recruiting these kids, you're recruiting them every single year. You're signing up for 1 year and then trying to get them back for next year. I mean, look at Florida. What was the linebacker? Was it Jack Pyburn? He had a standout season for the Gators, and then he wanted $45,000 a month. He wanted to guaranteed start at outside linebacker. He wanted to guarantee play on third downs and wanted more snaps in the defensive rotation. Florida wasn't willing to agree to that, so he went into the portal. And that's the guy that probably was going to be a team captain next year.
Well, that's ridiculous.
But
listen,
that's
I don't
that's a new age.
blame anybody for transferring. You only get 4 or 5, in some cases 6, 7 years to a lot of these guys. They don't know if they're going to go pro or if they're going to be any good if they do. You have a very small window to make money and to play football for most guys here. So I'll never knock anybody for transferring. A lot of people do. Whatever, you want to play football, then go transfer somewhere where you can play football. But that trying to get a guaranteed starting position and plays and third down, that's ridiculous. Like, go out there, or wherever you're at, you have to go out there and earn it.
There were coaches at certain ACC schools that no longer are there in football. I won't name names. That there were allegations that he was promising playing time to certain people from a certain geographic area of this state, and those things weren't panning out, and that kind of contributed to his downfall. If you can read between the lines there, that program that may be a little bit further up 64.
Well, we're talking about promises, and we were talking about Belichick earlier. Question for you: If Jerry Jones, after he fires Mike McCarthy at the end of the year, or I think his contract's out, so he just won't re-sign him. But say he gives Bill Belichick a call, gives him whatever money he wants, says you can have full control of the team, control of the roster, all that. You name your price. You think he pulls the Jets back in the day and leaves Carolina?
Without a doubt, this job was never about Bill coaching college.
I'm talking about this year.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I know he would. This job isn't about Bill coaching college. You know what this job was about? This job was about Bill setting up his idiot son. That's what it was. Just like any father that works for a Fortune 500 company that's a CEO or something, they're going to find a way for old Junior to make a living. He set this up so when he's done, Steve can take over, because Steve Belichick probably wasn't going to get a head coaching job anytime soon.
So with that, I haven't looked at all the numbers and stipulations. So I guess he's the head coach in waiting, his son now. Is that correct?
Carolina hasn't like officially said it, but that's pretty much the prevailing sentiment.
Okay.
Is that
so
he's going to be the
question
head coach
is,
in waiting.
if that's the case, is there a money figure that's guaranteed with that?
You mean for Steve?
So yeah. So like if they find out, oh, this dude's a moron, and then Bill Belichick leaves, they could just be like, all right, here's our contract offer. We're going to offer you $20,000 a year to be the head coach.
I imagine
Of course,
in
he's
that
not going to
contract.
take that.
I imagine that contract, he's got something baked in there, and there's there has to be a floor somewhere. You are still he would still be a Power 4 coach in the ACC, and not just at any school, but I mean, it is Carolina. It's not like he's coaching at Grambling State or something. Like there has to be a certain amount of money there.
I just feel like there's ways around that. We've heard of head coaches in waiting before who ended up not getting the job. So yeah,
James Franklin at Maryland. Who was it at Texas? Muschamp at Texas. Yeah. It's a whole new world. Let's see how Carolina will do next year. Let's take a peek at that schedule. Of course, the SEC has their whole schedule out for next year with all the dates and everything. You can plan your wedding and stuff. The ACC, God forbid that we do that. We just put out, oh, this is who you're playing, and there's a couple of dates here. So we don't know the dates of a lot of these games. But
that's their whole schedule?
Yeah, that's their whole schedule. But we don't have dates on all the games yet.
There is a lot of winnable games there. Good Lord. There's not – the only team that you would say they would be a huge underdog is Clemson. They can win the rest of those games.
And
they're at home against Clemson, so who knows what can happen.
But as Joe Giglio always likes to say, fuck you, we're still Clemson. You don't think Dabo is going to come out there running 8,000 miles in front of his team and want to prove a point to put his nuts on Bill Belichick's forehead? You don't think Dabo is going to be fired up for that one? Look.
Yeah, he will. I'm just talking about as the season overall. I'm going to go – I think they had the number of 6.5 over under for them. I might go bet that. They can easily get 7 wins out of this.
I can see I can see losses to Clemson. I can see a loss to UCF. Scott Frost coming back. Now he's going to be the head coach there second time around. There's a lot of talent there for them. I can see a loss to Duke. I like what Manny Diaz has going there. Virginia's just going to get the ever-living dog shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, so at Charlotte win, Richmond win, Stanford win, UVA win. That's 4 right there.
I think they lose. They lose the Qs. I think they lose the Qs. I think they lose the State. So Dave Doran has Carolina's number. State gets up for Carolina, and for a while,
All right.
Carolina hasn't gotten up for that game. I think they lose the State, and honestly, I think they lose the Wake. I think they lose the state championship between State and Duke and Wake. Yeah, they'll beat Charlotte, but Charlotte doesn't count.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they can get to 7 easily.
They'll
beat one of those bottom rows. They'll win, and then either TCU or UCF. They'll probably win one of those.
It'll be an interesting number there, and he's had some guys come back out of the portal. As you mentioned earlier, was it Austin Blasky, whatever, that offensive lineman, their best lineman coming back. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But Bill Belichick, head coach at the University of North Carolina. One thing for certain.
And that was immediate. Like he immediately said, "Oh yeah, I'm coming back." So that just tells you right there, like that his name still carries weight, whether he's going to still a good coach or not.
Well, also Carolina kicking in that NIL cash too now, knowing that you're probably going to get a bag and you don't have to leave somewhere that you presumably like too, Look, NC State got the win there this year, and of course, that started part of the week of fights with people planting flags. Hopefully Clemson will stomp the dog shit out of them and plant their tiger paw flag right there. No one's going to get arrested though for that, but in the state of Ohio, this is a potential felony now. There's a Ohio State rep, Josh Williams, who I believe is a GOP rep. Not that the party matters, I guess, but a GOP rep from Ohio who's introduced the Ohio Sportsmanship Act. Notice how he put it in dots, O.H.I. Because these fuckers like to be able to spell their state name. It's 4 letters. But they want to prove that they can spell it. But the Ohio Sportsmanship Act, that would make it a felony to plant a flag at the center of Ohio Stadium.
Yeah, you like to shit on the state of Ohio a lot, and this is not doing them any favors. What are we doing here? Why are you involved? And if you actually get this passed, you lose that rivalry forever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you are Michigan's bitch forever. Because 30 years from now, there's going to be sports dorks like us looking at history, and there's going to be some article. Well, 30 years ago, Ohio State passed a bill making it a felony to plant flag because Michigan kept beating them, and then that's going to be a thing. And like you can't pass this. It's so weak. You're going to be laughed at. You just beat them. That's all you got to do. Is win a game.
Go out there and win a football game. That's all you got to do. Don't worry about the flag planting and stuff. I love that, Ohio seems to have figured out all their issues in the state. There's, unemployment, the roads are fixed, schools are great, that they have time to worry about planting flags. But he sadly, that state rep isn't the only member of Congress to have some misguided, well, he's not in Congress, he's a state rep, but we also had a member of Congress this week have some misguided feelings when it comes to college football. Let's see if I can bring this up here. Where is it? Mike Collins, who is a representative from the state of Georgia, I believe also a member of the Grand Old Party. He had some comments talking about Texas and the SEC, and this is on the floor of the House.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to demand that Texas be sent back to the Big 12 and to congratulate the 2024 SEC champions, the Georgia Bulldogs. After the Dogs' historic win over the Longhorns, the SEC's championships over the weekend, which, by the way, was the second time Georgia has beat Texas this season, the Dogs have proved without a doubt that Texas just ain't ready for SEC ball. What an incredible win, Mr. Speaker. Not only did the Dogs absolutely smoke Texas in overtime, but they did it with class, style, and a backup quarterback. This is the 15th SEC championship in Georgia history, and the Dogs aren't done yet. As we move into the playoffs, don't let off the gas. You've got a national championship to bring back to Athens, and don't let anyone stop you. Mr. Speaker, go Dogs! And I yield back.
What are we
That
doing?
was on the floor of the United States Congress.
Yeah, that's why our country is so fucked up. That those are our politicians. Those are our guys making rules and shit for us. That's what we're voting in.
And
What are we doing?
he thought he was killing with that line too. That little chuckle he had halfway through. He tried that out on Dickie and Duke and all the boys at the Kiwanis Club. He thought
Yeah.
sure that one was gonna slay. And I just love like the awkward silence there. It was like, bro,
Yeah.
like we gotta send some more money to Ukraine. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, what are you doing? Like,
He sounds like a commentator for like a local like professional wrestling company or something.
oh, without a doubt, local professional wrestling in like a gym in like
Yeah.
Douglasville, Georgia, the high school, and then like on Friday nights he's calling high school football. Yeah. Oh
Exactly.
God.
Get these fools out of there.
You see Friday Night Lights, right? Like the TV
Yes,
show.
I love it. Yeah.
That would be like if Buddy Garrity was a member of the United States Senate. I mean, of the U.S. Congress. That's what that would be like.
Yeah, but that guy was worse in my opinion. But yes, that is a good comparison.
Oh, I forgot to make this comparison earlier.
It's coming back. Friday Night Lights, the show is supposed to be coming back too.
Oh, that's gonna be terrible.
You don't know that.
I forgot to make this comparison earlier. When I first heard the Belichick news, you know what I thought it was going to be like when I first heard his name come up for Carolina? Not to go political. I know the last couple of things have been political, but remember like when people were saying that it was like 2015, I guess, when if it said Trump was first going to run for president, it's like, oh yeah, what the hell? This guy's on the fucking reality TV. He's not running for office. And then you see him coming down the escalator. It's like, that's not gonna. No. That's what I thought with Bill Belichick, the Carolina. But here we are. He's on turn number 2, about to start, and Belichick's coaching the Tar Heels. Nothing makes sense anymore.
I could see it.
Nothing.
Except for their demeanors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense anymore. Well, we'll see what happens with all that. Now, that makes some sense. Let's try to make some sense of this Thursday night football game and get into some betting here. Let's get our picks of the week. All right, we got Thursday night football, Amazon Prime, little 8:15 action. We got the Los Angeles Rams taking on their hated rival, the San Francisco 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers of Santa Clara. Line has now moved to 3 points. Over under is 48.5, 8:15 kickoff. Scotty says Chris isn't here. Do you just want to give his pick first since you have that?
Yeah, we'll give his pick first. I do believe he told us Rams +3. Does that sound right?
Yes, he did say Rams +3 in the chat earlier. No analysis, of course. Chris doing the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Oh, give us the pick. That's it. No reason why. No nothing. There's a reason, that some kids make C's and some kids make A's. Chris's high watermark, his ceiling was the C because he's going to give you the bare minimum. So he said Rams +3. That's what we'll put him down for. Scotty, I know you made more than a C a couple times. What's your pick here?
Yeah, a couple times. So I actually did bet earlier Rams +3, but the more I think about it, I kind of feel like this is kind of a repeat of last week for the 49ers. I think they were 3.5 point favorites, and they were playing the Bears, and the Bears were everybody's upset pick of the week, and I think the public is probably heavily on the Rams. So this game kind of scares me from a side standpoint. So I'm gonna go to a prop. I've been having some good luck here with the props in Thursday Night Football in the last few weeks. I'm going to go Brock Purdy over 18.5 rushing yards, and I got this one on FanDuel. I hope I didn't steal your pick. So he's gone. Or maybe you have under. I don't know. He's gone under this number the last 2 weeks, but last week was that blowout win against the Bears that I just referenced. So they really didn't need him to run last week. The game before that was that blizzard against Buffalo, and that's more suited to power runners. So he wasn't going to be out there running. So I'm not counting that game. So before that, he hit this number 5 out of 6 weeks, and they played the Rams week 3. He had 41 rushing yards. So I think he can get at least 19 yards easily, 20, 25. Thursday night games, division game. If he needs to get a first down with his legs, he's going to go get it. Another reason real quick why I'm kind of going back and forth on the side. The Rams have been playing. They are right now the better football team the last few weeks. But 49ers at home, you see that number. And Brock Purdy is 4-0 straight up and against the spread on Thursday nights. So something about those Thursday night games that he likes. But yeah, I like this rushing total. He's been, other than the last 2 weeks, I think maybe that's brought that number down a little bit. I think you're getting good value on it. He's going to be out there running. Both of these teams really need this game. I think it's going to be a very close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. So, yeah, I think he's going to be, whenever he gets a chance to run, he's not going to hesitate. I like the over 18.5.
Over 18.5 rushing yards for Brock Purdy. Okay.
Also, Rams giving up the 10th most rushing yards to quarterbacks this year.
I like it. You did some deep diving there. You did mention that these two teams always play each other close. You can see, looking back here in the last 20 matchups between them, and you see 27-24, 21-20, 30-23. These are all really tight games. You see a 31-10 in there as kind of an outlier, a 20-7 as an outlier. But for the most part, these are really competitive, hard-fought games between these two. That's why I stayed away from a side on this one. I just did not like that 3 points either way. And I didn't really like the over-under of 48.5 here either. But a couple things I did like. Puka Nacua has just been on an absolute tear. Wide receivers with 5 games of 150 yards scrimmage, with 5+ games of 150 yards from scrimmage in the first 2 seasons. He's on top along with Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. That's a pretty good category to be in there. And over the last month, he has been absolutely on fire. Week 11, 7 catches for 123 in the TD. Week 12, 9 catches for 117. Week 13, 5 for 56 in the TD. Last week, 12 for 162. And 2 touchdowns. The Rams are hot right now. They've won 2 straight. They're coming off that 44-42 win over Buffalo. You mentioned, San Francisco getting back on track after the win over Chicago. Before that, they had dropped 3 straight. You mentioned earlier, Brock Purdy had 41 rushing yards, rated 10 times in that week 3 matchup. Big difference here, though, Scotty. He doesn't have Trent Williams. With Trent, he's averaging 5.1 yards rushing per attempt and 26.7 yards rushing per game. Without Trent, that number falls to 3.5 yards per attempt and 7.5 yards rushing per game. And he's only gone over 20.5 yards rushing once in the last 4 starts. Those stats courtesy of ESPN's Joe Fortenbaugh. I actually locked this in earlier in the week, so I am opposite you, but my number is higher. I actually got Brock at under 20.5 rushing yards on ESPN bet earlier in the week. So you with the FanDuel, you got him over 18.5.
All right. Yeah. So they didn't even have his over under when I looked at it on ESPN.
Okay.
That's how we should be doing it anyways. Because
Okay.
I mean, we're obviously putting our bets out there. Maybe if people are following, trying to make them some money, so we should be getting the best lines out there. And yeah, prop bets, they fluctuate a lot.
Yeah,
so yeah, I'll take the over 18.5, and you could take the under 20.5. You can land on 19 or 20.
Yeah, 19. Let's just root for 19, and we both win. And what was Chris's pick? Rams +3.
Rams +3. Yeah.
And let's root for 49ers minus 4.
So I do have 3 bets. Usually Monday and Thursday night games, I'll pick either a side or total, and then a prop on each team. I do have the Rams +3, Purdy over 18.5 rushing yards, and then I did a parlay for Kyron Williams to get a touchdown and 50 rushing yards. I got that at even money on MGM.
How many
49ers give up a lot of rushing touchdowns?
Speaking about rushing touchdowns, 49ers giving up, but then on the opposite side, with the running backs being dinged up, was it Isaac Garindo, whatever is the running back?
Yeah, he's supposed to be playing. Also, another reason why I shied away from making my podcast pick the Rams is Nick Bosa is supposed to be back. So that should be a big help.
Yeah.
But yeah, 49ers, I don't think it matters really who they put at running back. They're going to produce. They're not going to put up McCaffrey numbers, but that Shanahan system, whoever they put back there is going to put up some numbers.
this fantasy football season for a lot of people is going to come down to what first round of the playoff to what Isaac Garindo can do on Thursday Night Football. That is the way some people's fantasy football seasons have been going. But all right, to recap here, I got under 20 and a half yards rushing for Brock. Scotty's going over 18 and a half for Brock. And Chris has Rams +3 on the road there. All right, moving over to college football. Obviously, bowl season about to begin. We actually get some bowls underway this weekend. We'll talk about this more before doing lines if we want to do bowls, but we don't know what fucking guys are going to be on what teams. But we do have some football that matters from the college standpoint. FCS playoffs, the quarterfinals. Beautiful Bozeman, Montana. The Idaho Vandals, number 8 team in the land. Friday night, they're going up to Bozeman to take on the unblemished Montana State Bobcats. Cats laying 14 at home. Over under is 55.5. 9 o'clock tomorrow night on ESPN and ESPN Plus. In Chris's absentia, what did he send over?
Well, he sent over Montana State -13.5. But there are no books that have that number anymore. So we got to give them the -14, Montana State.
We'll give them the -14 on Montana State. What say you? Where are you going here in this Big Sky matchup?
Yeah, so I don't think I've watched 1 minute of FCS football this year. So all I can do is look at the numbers. Montana State, 5-0 at home against the spread. Idaho was only 3-4 on the road against the spread. They already played once this year in Montana. Montana blew them out 38-7. So whenever I'm looking at a game that I know nothing about and all the numbers are pointing one way, I go the other way. So I'm taking Idaho +14. In my 5 minutes of research, I did see that when they did play earlier in the season, they had a lot of injuries. Their quarterback was out, Jack something, I forget his name.
Jack Lane.
Yes, that's it. Lane with the Y. Yeah, so we saw what Idaho kept it close, gave Oregon a scare at the beginning of the year. Obviously, that's a long time ago, but I don't know much about this game. Like I said, I know the public's probably on Montana State. They got the perfect record. They've been blowing teams out. But Idaho, I'm assuming they're healthy. I know they got their quarterback back. I don't know. I feel like this will probably be closer than the 14. So Idaho +14.
Idaho +14. All right. So for me here, obviously Bobcats going in undefeated on the year. The Vandals are 10-3. Idaho's losses, you mentioned earlier the college football playoff #1 overall seed, the Oregon Ducks. That was 24-14 way back in week 1. They lost 28-26 at UC Davis on September 29th. Excuse me. The Aggies are 11-2, and they're ranked 5th in the FCS. They're at number 4, South Dakota, in the quarterfinals on Saturday in the Dakota Dome. And then, of course, you mentioned that 38-7 ass whooping that they got at Bobcat Stadium against this very Montana State team back on October the 13th. Since then, though, the Vandals have reeled off 6 straight wins. Montana State ran for 360 yards and held the ball for over 37 minutes in that 38-7 win. So Idaho has to cut down on that time of possession and bottle up that run. They've done this before. They held Montana State last year to 128 yards on the ground, but Montana State and Idaho did hold the ball for 41 minutes. So held them to 128 rushing, and Idaho held the ball for 41 minutes in their 24-21 win over the Bobcats at the Kibbe Dome last year. You mentioned Jack Lane coming back in the lineup. He's a big difference maker for Idaho. He's thrown for 830 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 1 pick over the last 3 games. Montana State's offense averages 7.5 yards per play, and quarterback Tommy Mellott made him pay last time. He went off for 140 on the ground and accounted for 4 total touchdowns. I did check the weather on this. Partly cloudy tomorrow night with a kickoff temperature of 29, wind chill of 21 in Bozeman. So weather really isn't going to be a factor. I think Lane being back makes a difference for the Vandals. I'm going to go over 55.5 points here because I think he adds an aerial dynamic, and I think both teams are going to get some points here. I'm going over 55.5 at Bobcat Stadium tomorrow night. I do think Montana State gets the win, though. I don't know if they cover the full 14, but I do think that they get the win. They're clearly the best team in the FCS. There's a lot of FBS teams they would beat. There's a lot of FBS teams that are going to bowls that I think that they would beat, but I'm going over 55.5 here.
All right. Yeah, for a game I know nothing about, I feel pretty good about that. Idaho plus 14. Just everything says Montana State minus 14. When that happens, it rarely works out.
It's amazing too. I know obviously this is the two teams not a lot of people in America know about, but Idaho a few years ago was a bad FBS program, and they dropped down. And a lot of people were, making jokes and who drops down a level. And this was a team that had a run, especially in the '80s. They were good in 1AA, making it to the semifinals and quarterfinals and stuff. They moved up. They obviously struggled. Just didn't have the budget, didn't have the infrastructure to contend. Their neighbors over in Boise just, ran them roughshod. But you go back and they dropped down. I think it was 2022. They went 7-5, 9-4 last year, now 10-3. So dropping down the level has reinvigorated the Vandal program. I think some schools really need to take a long look at their football and whether they need to be at the FBS level. I'm looking at you, UMass. I'm looking at you, UConn.
UVA? No.
No. Jesus Christ! I just thought about that. Tony Elliott's going to coach against Bill Belichick. But go on. I'm sorry.
Oh man, wait. We're not playing UNC next year. I want to see Bill Belichick at Lane Stadium where Enter Sandman's going to see him on the side.
He'll be so annoyed. I don't know.
If you watch the FX series, apparently he was a huge Bon Jovi fan, so maybe he likes Metallica.
I think there's a little bit of a bridge before you go to Metallica from Bon Jovi.
Yeah, but not really. But yeah, I think the NIL, I think that the new day and age, I think we might see some more teams go down to the FCS.
I mean, you got
or maybe not. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. But the teams are smart and they don't want to get their head beat in every week. I think they would be smart to move down.
But we see more teams coming up. I know Delaware is making the move up to Conference USA. I think it was next year or 26. I mean, you see more and more teams making the move up. There was talk. I know UC Davis just joined the Mountain West in all sports except football, which doesn't make sense to me. They're in the FCS quarterfinals. It's a damn good football program. You would think that they would want to move up, especially I think there's a little bit of a power vacuum out west, but what do I know? I know there's been talk about Sacramento State potentially moving up, which, by the way, those two schools are arch rivals, separated by like 30 miles. No one ever really knew that. But yeah, I don't know. But I think some programs really have to take a look at their commitment to football and whether they need to be at the FCS level, especially FBS level, especially after this House versus NCAA gets settled with the revenue sharing. Because let's face it, Bama's playing a different sport than even Virginia is, and Virginia's playing a different sport than Bowling Green is. You just don't have the revenue to compete with this. So, all right.
I thought Bowling Green was decent this year, or am I thinking about somebody else?
Still, it's a MAC conference team, though.
Speaking of, they're going bowling though.
Speaking of,
I didn't even mean to make the pun there.
That was terrible. Speaking of competing, by the way, on my television in front of me here, I see Virginia basketball currently struggling at home right now, down 14-11 to Bethune-Cookman in the first half at home with 4:50 left. That is an awful basketball game. And former Georgia Tech coach Josh Pastner on the call on this one on the ACC network.
Oh, on the call, damn.
Yeah, nothing says fun Thursday night like listen to Josh Pastner.
I thought you were gonna say he was Bethune-Cookman's coach or something.
Oh, Jesus Christ! If you're coaching Bethune-Cookman basketball, just go coach like George Washington High School somewhere and sell used cards and teach third period science at the local high school. I'd do that before I coach Bethune-Cookman basketball. All right, so the recap, FCS playoffs. Chris has got Montana State minus the 14, the Fighting Tommy Mulots. You're going the opposite side, Idaho plus the 14?
Yep.
And I got the over 55.5. So we're all over the board on this one, but it should be a good one tomorrow night on ESPN. Scotty, should we get into some off the beaten path stuff here?
Sure, why not?
Weird news brought to you by no one. Actually, brought to you by Hayway Golf. We'll repost them on our story, but if you're looking for a putter cover, I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. If you're looking for a putter cover and you have a lab putter, they're just starting out really niche right now with lab. Check it out. Go to our Instagram and our Facebook account for the Let's Not Do This podcast. We shared some of their apparel there, some of their merch, good stuff. Brand new disruptor to the golf industry. They're starting to scale up. So brought to you by them. I will build them. I'm sure they will not be happy about that, but
Yeah, tell them we sent you.
yeah, tell them that we sent you, and it can improve your golf game. And maybe not won't improve your golf game, but you just will look cool while you shoot 175 out there. But all right, let's get into some off the beaten path stuff here. Scotty, have you been to Kentucky before?
No.
I have never been to Kentucky, and I don't think it's a state that I really want to go to. By the way, since we're talking about Kentucky, we need our official State of Kentucky music. Yeah.
They have a nice horse race. It's about, and a good basketball team, usually.
Well, usually, yeah. Mark Pope is doing good things there. I guess they have mules there too. This gentleman apparently was decided to run from the police on a mule. Now, I've seen a lot of police chase videos before. Have you ever seen one on a mule or a horse, any sort of animal?
Can't say that I have, no.
I haven't either, but let's take a look here. I forget what city this was in Kentucky, but I got this from, I think Friday Beer shared it, but a bunch of other people have as well. Gentleman running from the cops on a mule.
Get him on! Get him on! Motherfucker running on a horse.
They get near him. They're screaming.
Yeah,
Taze.
we were muted during that whole video. So
Oh shit! I was trying to give commentary. Well, did you see him weave between the cones?
Yeah.
Isn't that like
It's
a horse
traffic
event?
school.
Isn't there like an event in the Olympics though? Don't you have to make the horse?
Yeah, equestrian, yeah.
Yeah.
They do it in dog shows too, though. And I did it in driving school.
How many cones did you hit?
None.
No, look at that. By the way, this was in Western Kentucky. I would not expect this. This was in Murray, Kentucky, where the Murray State Racers are from. If someone told me a guy ran from the cops on a mule in Kentucky, doesn't that have Eastern Kentucky written all over it? Like Richmond, Kentucky. Doesn't that sound like, coal mine country?
Sure.
A little bit more
between West and East Kentucky.
Western Kentucky, bourbon and aristocracy. Eastern Kentucky, poverty, meth, and moonshine. That's pretty much the difference in that state.
Jesus. So what did he get charged with?
He got charged with a DUI. This was in Callaway.
I thought you had to be driving something with a motor to get a DUI.
I know you can get a DUI on a mule. He was drinking. He was on the mule. The cops chased him. He was allegedly whipping a bullwhip at patrons at the bar. When he was asked to leave, the cops encountered him outside where he had tied up his mule. This is like 1863.
That's a bad law. That seems responsible to me.
Yeah.
If you're drunk and you can't drive and you got a horse, you're being irresponsible.
Cops said that this guy, what was his name? Mason.
Of course, his name is fucking Mason.
I'm missing his first name here. Jonathan Mason. Jonathan with a Jon. Jonathan. You can never trust that guy that doesn't have the H in his name. But he smelled strongly of alcohol and was manifestly under the influence, per an arrest citation. Upon speaking with the owner of a nearby cafe, officers learned that Mason reportedly rode his mule 15 miles into town to break him in. She affirmed per court documents that in all the years she's known Mason, she's witnessed poor treatment and abuse looks of his horses. And that the more Mason becomes intoxicated, the worse his treatment of his horses becomes. So
Free that
yeah.
man. I don't think that's not a real crime.
He was sharp.
For all they know, he was just on his horse and then they got startled and it wouldn't stop for
So
15 miles.
apparently it wasn't DUI. A lot of the sensational, clickbait things were saying DUI. His actual charges were second-degree disorderly conduct, alcohol intoxication in a public place, third-degree criminal trespassing, and resisting arrest. He rode this fucking mule 15 miles. It's not a horse. Can mules ride 15 miles? Isn't that be like animal
That
cruelty?
one did. It was still bucking. No.
Dude, PETA is going to tear his ass up.
Whatever. If you're on the other side of PETA, then you're doing something right.
Fucking mule, man. Who has a mule? That's what makes it funnier. Like a horse. Okay,
I gotta be
yeah,
honest.
who's a mule?
I don't even know exactly what a mule is.
Isn't a mule like?
You don't either. All right.
I don't know either. Isn't a mule like if a horse and a donkey have sex? Isn't that a mule?
Difference between a mule and a horse.
Chris smells like one. I know. This is riveting here. I need to give us some more Kentucky hillbilly hoedown action here as we try to figure this one out.
It doesn't really say mules have smoother muscles.
Who's
Mule has
rubbing?
greater strength. The mule has more endurance. So yeah, he could. So yeah, 15 miles is no problem.
15 miles for a mule. Oh, which one of us do you think could ride a mule the best? Me, you, or Chris?
Low hanging fruit.
It's probably you. You're the closest.
Being
to
that they're
a jock.
smaller, I would say. I'd say me. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you're small.
I feel like
also-
Chris. I feel like Chris might have a weird story where he like rode a horse one time or something.
He rode a horse, all right. Yeah, and I want to break that fucking mule's back. Like I get one leg across that thing, and that back is snapping. It's gonna look like Joe Theismann's leg. Like it's just gonna be not good. All right, but that goes the tale of Jonathan Mason and his mule in Kentucky. There. What did you want to get to here off the beaten path here? You told me before the show. Of course, my brain doesn't work.
Yeah, so there's been some anytime something major in the world, I don't want to call out the specific thing, but it had to do with it had to do with the CEO. Anything, I'm not going to get into it, but anytime anything like that happened, there's always conspiracies coming around to that. And then I saw something about one of my favorite conspiracies, which is a lot of people think Stevie Wonder is not blind. And I kind of agree with them.
Okay.
I'll get into that until a
Do
second.
tell.
But before I get into the story I saw today, there's a couple celebrities that have stories where they say they don't think Stevie is blind. Shaq was one of them. He said Stevie got on an elevator with him one time and he pushed a button and got in and said, "Hey, Shaq." So that's one of them. Another one, back in, when was it? It was probably 15, 20 years ago. It was it was at the White House. I forget what it was for. It was a bunch of
I've heard
musicians.
this. Yeah.
Stevie Wonder was there. Paul McCartney was actually singing "Hey Jude," and he walked by Stevie Wonder, and there was a mic stand, but it wasn't directly in front of him. It was maybe like a foot over to his left. Paul McCartney walks by, and he hits the mic stand, and it falls over. Stevie Wonder, without missing a beat, it doesn't fall right in front of him. It's to the side. He reaches over like immediately, like super quick reflexes, catches the mic stand. That didn't seem like something that you would just feel. I don't know. It was kind of weird. And then there's a lot of other people that have stories where they think Stevie isn't really blind. But yeah, and then we have this. So I guess Apple and Tim Cook is bringing out the Apple Vision Pro.
Okay, that's like
Which
their
is one of
meta.
those things that go over your, yeah.
Okay.
Stevie Wonder is testing it out, and he loves it.
I'm sorry, what? Stevie Wonder's testing.
Tested out the Apple Vision Pro, and he loves it. And Tim Cook took his input and said it was great input or whatever. I'm not going to pull up the article because it's a lot of nonsense, but a lot of just quotes and stuff. But yeah. So
do we know if he's fully blind?
If he's not, he's definitely played it off as he is his whole life.
But I mean, like, can't he have like some partial? You know, like I knew a guy, I worked with a guy.
Creepy. No, so yeah, to be legally blind, you can still be able to see a little bit, but Stevie walks out there with the cane and is doing his hit thing. Like he's definitely coming off as he's like fully blind and can't see anything. And I don't believe it. I believe the conspiracy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that's what I believe. I don't think he's blind.
Wasn't there a celebrity that said like they saw him drive a car once or something like that somewhere,
Dude,
like on a closed road?
I didn't hear that one, but I did work at a car dealership years ago, and I'm assuming this person had like their caretaker or whatever with them.
Yeah,
the driver. But so I worked at a car dealership, and sometimes I would help out the cashier if they're at lunch or whatever. A blind person came up to pick up their car. And so I give them their keys, and I'm like, "Am I supposed to do this?"
Can you?
So I'm just like, "Yo, I just gave a blind guy his car keys."
Can you go to jail for that? Wasn't it in Arizona? I think they were trying to prosecute someone at a gas station because they sold the person that was knowingly drunk beer, and when the guy was buying gas, and then he got in the car and like got a DUI, got in a wreck or something. Like, could you get prosecuted for knowingly giving a blind person like keys? Like, if I give a 7-year-old car keys and they go crash it, I'm going to jail. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that was 15, 20 years ago also. So I think the statute of limitations are probably done on that.
I wouldn't talk
think
about
he had a
this,
driver
just
there
in general, but
yeah. I don't know, but I don't think Stevie's blind. He's testing out the Vision Pro.
I mean, look at this thing. This person's like, if you're watching us on YouTube, which you should be, or Rumble, or Facebook, where we're streaming also, this person's like sitting at their desk, and they got like multiple Apple screens up, and they got like Final Cut Pro. They're like editing a video.
I got to be honest, when this first came out, I was like, this shit is dumb, but it looks pretty fucking awesome. Like, my only thing is I feel like I would get bored of it after a while, or not even wanting to put it on my face or whatever.
So you need cool
I don't
games.
know.
You need cool games. Like that thing I sent you guys with the
my thing is,
yeah.
Well, I saw somebody have it with like all the betting apps up and the game, so you can like watch the game and have your betting apps up, and
you would be so broke.
Yeah, probably.
You would be so broke so fast.
And just live bet after live bet, next possession.
Could you imagine, like, people start wearing these things at work? Like, you're working on, like, an assembly line. I don't know. You're checking, like, toys or, you know, airplane parts or tires or something. I don't know. Just defective shit is going out all day because people are just sitting here with these things.
I kind of want to do that. I'm busy.
Yeah. I'm on a conference call with Shanghai right now. And you're just, like, looking at betting with your Apple Vision goggles on right now. Fucking Stevie Wonder. Did you really think, though, that he's not blind?
I definitely think that he can see somewhat. Now, whether he's legally blind or not, I don't know. But he comes off, and listen, he's a great musician. I love a lot of his music. But the fact that people think he's completely blind has helped out with that, and that's the persona he puts on it. He can't see it all, and I don't believe him. And now he's starting to joke. Now he's starting to joke about it because people ask him about it. Like, can you see? And he was like, maybe, or like he doesn't like completely like eliminate the fact that he might be able to see, but he's joking around. But I think he can see.
Do like people like that? Do they have like enhanced other senses? Like you mentioned that thing that was going to fall. Does he have like, I don't know, like a spidey sense because this one sense is gone and the others are?
I'm sure they do, heightened? But if you watch that video, it was too fast because McCartney walks by him. So I'm right here. McCartney walks by him. The mic stand. I'm inverted. All right, the mic stand's over here. All right, to his left. As soon as the mic stand starts falling, like before you even realize it's falling, his hand goes like this, and then you see the mic stand just falling. And then after it hits his hand, he does his hand like he doesn't know how to hold things. It's like he just kind of holds it there, like somebody help me.
You know what? Test is we need to show him some pictures from a Diddy party that has him in those pictures because I'm sure he was at one. Seems like everyone who's ever been anyone has been at one of those parties. Show him a picture and just see how he reacts to it. You know, like
No, what you do is throw him a ball or something, throw something at him and see if he catches it.
you know that may not prove anything because I had a dog once. And God, I love him. But it was the dumbest dog I've ever had in my entire life. You throw a ball at him, he would just look at it, and it would hit him right between the eyes.
Well, dogs don't see in 3 dimensions, so they don't count.
But they catch frisbees and stuff. This one was just dumb. I love him, but he was just dumb.
Well, Stevie's not dumb.
That's very true. He's not radio. He's just blind. Oh, I'm going to hell. I'm sorry.
I met the real radio. I've told that on this story before. On this podcast before.
Yeah, you guys without drinking.
I wish that would have been awesome.
Can you imagine going drinking with radio? That would
be bro.
Who would charge him? Who's going to charge radio for a beer? He's going to drink for free.
Just let it be known this is radio, and yeah.
Oh my God, is he still alive?
That would be the best one. Nah, I think he died in the last couple of years.
Oh fuck! Well, maybe
this is the 4th installment, or is he alive?
Is he alive? Maybe we can go Stevie Wonder. With
I just typed in "is radio." First result: is radio still alive?
You're gonna get a bunch of stuff
about 2019.
Okay, okay. You want to? Maybe we can dig him up and go Weekend at Bernie style with radio.
He was there with Chris Jones there. It was like a Boys and Girls Club.
Ah, there you go. Somewhere that Chris couldn't legally be within 50 feet of. So there we go. That brings it back.
He smacked my friend's ponytail. And nobody believed it was radio. I told everybody else, it's radio. I'm telling you, it's radio. I remember him walking out at the end of the movie. Nobody believed me. We go and pack up, go out to eat. I come downstairs. There's a camera crew packing up. I go to the front desk. I said, well, what's that about? Oh, radio was just here. So, I fucking told y'all.
Radio. Well, on that note, Scotty, we have about 20 minutes for Thursday Night Football. Let's go ahead and bump us out of here. We make sure to join us back here Saturday morning, 9 a.m. for Doing Lines. We assume Chris will be back with us. We don't know if work will allow that. But we'll have a full rundown of the college football action for the FCS playoffs and get you ready for NFL for the upcoming week and maybe some college basketball as well. But until then, keep your stick on the ice.
Like, subscribe.
Where'd the music go? There we go.
I was waiting for you to stop talking.
Oh. Peace.